Welcome to VISTA Table Talks. I'm Kim Chin, the Assistant National Director of the Up2Us VISTA program. We're back again with our full year series. As the world is transitioning back to in-person work, our VISTAs are also in a transition period. On this episode, we're joined by 3 VISTA members, 1 who is ending her service term at the end of the month, and 2 who are about halfway through, as they break down what it's been like to participate in AmeriCorps in the last year of mostly remote work. They discuss the highs, the lows, and the in-between of remote service. Leading this conversation is Emily Murtaugh, who is a current VISTA at Woodcraft Rangers, but is also coming to the end of her service term at the end of this month. Emily, take it away.
Well, hi everyone. I'm happy to be here and host this conversation today on a reflection on what it's like been working from home as a VISTA, as an AmeriCorps VISTA. So currently we're here in October of 2021. I'm excited to get to know, we have Twylah and Mickey, and my name's Emily. I'll introduce myself and then I'll pass it over to you both. So my name is Emily. I use she, her pronouns. I'm an AmeriCorps VISTA in Los Angeles, California at Woodcraft Rangers. Woodcraft Rangers, their mission is to, or their goals are to expand pathways to youth in all, K through 12, giving them purposeful lives. And so we have clubs in 80 different schools throughout the LA region. And my role is on the learning team and helping to build their capacity with data, with talking to alumni. We're approaching our centennial, so getting ready for 100 years of Woodcraft Rangers, as well as doing trainings and data and all the various roles that we serve as VISTAs. And I also want to say a favorite hobby of mine has been hanging out with my dogs. I have I have a little Shih Tzu and a little Chihuahua. They're 15-year-olds, so I've had them since I was probably 8, and now they're going, blind and a little bit deaf. So making sure that they're comfortable and happy at home has been one of my favorite things to do while I'm here at home as a VISTA.
Nice. Hi everyone, I'm Mickey. My pronouns are him, his, and he. I'm AmeriCorps VISTA for Active City Hartford. And so Active City is a nonprofit organization in the city of Hartford, Connecticut. What we do is we make sure that kids in the city have access to recreational sports programs. And Active City's mission is to connect all of the existing sports programs within the city of Hartford, because there's a bunch of them, and create new programming through them. We promote their programs. We have our own programs that we promote. So yeah, working with them has been really fun and exciting and fulfilling. Active City, my role with them as an AmeriCorps VISTA has been to kind of support their infrastructure. Mostly been doing a lot of grant writing and fundraising so we could support programs for kids, and so we can create our own programs for kids, recreational sports program. So that's, and I've also been helping them with marketing and advertising. So helping them create a new website, supporting their database, all of their financial records, keeping track of our grant records, a little bit of everything for them. So yeah, and my favorite hobby. So being home and with COVID and quarantining, I've been working out more. So I've been doing a lot of home workouts actually, and I noticed that it's almost the same thing as going to the gym, and it's a lot cheaper. So that's my kind of spontaneous fun thing that I like to do. I've been watching my health a lot more since then. So yeah.
Cool. Hi everyone, I'm Twylah, and my pronouns are she, her. I'm an AmeriCorps VISTA in New York City, and I'm currently assigned at Renaissance Renaissance Charter School, and that's close by, just right outside of Manhattan, in Queens. So my role there, I'm an information specialist, which basically means that I help collect student data, and the day-to-day data includes attendance, anything regarding their demographics, background information, anything parents would need to have access to, including grades and things like that. And so just supporting the administrative team as much as possible to make sure that when the information is needed, it can be pulled for like the Board of Ed and any parents that need it.
Awesome. Oh, and what's your?
Oh yeah. Oh, so since being home, you know, it's just such a new world. I've been trying to walk more and make that become more of my day-to-day since I'm not getting up and commuting anymore. And so I've just been incorporating that and trying to cook, trying to stay in the kitchen as much as possible. Not very hands-on in the kitchen, so trying to develop that skill as much as I can.
For sure. Thanks to you both. It's really great to be here and to talk. I guess going off of what Twylah was saying, what is your day-to-day feel like, look like, sound like as a VISTA? For me, I'm sitting here in my childhood bedroom. I moved back in with my parents in August of last year amidst COVID. And so I have, my plants on the wall. I've sort of made my own situation in my room, but most of my year is sitting here in this chair. I have my mom also works from home. So she's my coworker over here, like my dogs are my coworkers. It's becoming fall in October. So, it was really windy yesterday. So that, I noticed that on my walks, but how's it felt like, looked like for you as a VISTA?
So for me, so I started in January. So I had graduated from college with the pandemic class. So everything was kind of weird. So I was kind of acclimated to working from home, doing like schoolwork and being on class with Zoom. So I was pretty familiar with all of the mechanics from working from home. So kind of what my day-to-day looks like now is I'm always trying to keep up with my emails. I get a lot more emails now, and I have 2 emails that I work off of. So on top of that, I'm working through Slack with Active City and also with AmeriCorps. So trying to make sure that I don't miss any of my notifications while working. So like I said, we do a lot of grants. So I'm always on my laptop trying to find new grants, trying to make sure the grants that we have pending are, make sure that they're good, and trying to make sure that we meet all the deadlines and have all of the right information for the grants that we need to get in. Because what I've noticed is writing grants it's easy when you have everything that you need, and it's hard when you don't. And it's more beneficial if you have kind of like a relationship with the grant providers, and if they kind of have an idea and a feel for what your program has done, because they want to make sure that the money that they're granting is being used in a beneficial way. So yeah, that's kind of my day to day. I'm working with technology, doing Zooms. So I'm kind of in a hybrid kind of type of working situation, because sometimes I'll have to go in for meetings, or I'll have to go help out with the registration for Active City, or check in for a rec program that they're running. So sometimes I do have to go in to help out with that, but I am mostly working from home. So it's been interesting. I get a lot of work done from home. So, I mean, it's not that different from being in the office. So yeah.
Well, my year actually started in April, so I'm almost halfway through. And for me, like the sounds I hear are like leaf blowers all the time lately. But it's good to be in your own space, because then you get to create, your own comfort kind of environment. I have my little weighted pup right here over my shoulder. I don't have any pets, so but he serves as my best pet. And yeah, so just my little space here in the attic, because I'm also at home again, and having my flowers nearby just to create that like comfort that you would, I guess, in an office, but still, like making sure that it's comfortable enough because it is home and that's a valued part of the assignment. So I'm fully remote, and I check in with the team all the time. So, just making sure that I'm checking emails, Slack, like you mentioned, Mikey. And yeah, that's basically it, my environment.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I've been fully remote in my day-to-day. I spent 2 weeks up at summer camp this year in the mountains of Idaho, so sort of in a deserty environment, teaching rock climbing, and that was really fun because it was the first time after being with Woodcraft Rangers for at least half of my year, so 6 months, interacting with the young people that we serve. And so that was really fulfilling because I got to see how the kids were out and about running. And while we were had specific COVID precautions, like people were still in their groups, it was nice just to be in person again and to do activities and programming in person. So I appreciate both and all of it. And so Mickey, you spoke about it a little bit, but I would love to hear more too about how your VISTA experience has been shaped from working from home. Is it something that you expected? And what has been like the successes or challenges that you faced in working from home?
Yeah. So it's actually not what I expected, because when I first started in January, I was going in the office, doing everything that I do here at home now, but just in the office. And then unfortunately somebody in our office had gotten COVID. So they had gotten COVID like 1 or 2 months after I was working in the office. So after that, we kind of switched to a hybrid for me. And my whole site was, it was all, based on my feelings and how I was feeling about it. And so I kind of went for more of the hybrid, because after doing it for a while, I realized that, we both kind of realized that I don't technically need to be, with them in their office, but I do have to be online during my designated hours. Mm-hmm. So it's not really what I expected. But then moving forward from it, kind of, moving forward from somebody having gotten COVID and, having to move to work from home, it wasn't that different. And we realized that we were still able to hit all our marks. We were still able to do everything that we needed to get done, have meetings. And if I need to go in for something that's extremely important, I do. I think one of the challenges has been kind of, for me at least, it's been figuring out like when to stop working, because I'll be home all day working really, and sometimes I go over my designated hours trying to get things done, or just I get lost in research, or I get lost in a task just trying to finish it, and I'll look up at the clock and I'll be like, oh wow, it's like 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock and the sun went down. I didn't even realize it. So that's been like a challenge, just not overworking myself. But it's also been a success, and helping them figure out the relationship with the grants, like I was saying earlier, and why we don't get certain grants and why we get other grants. So one of two big successes that Active City has had is that we are granted $10,000 to run a program that we are currently programming for right now. I believe it's supposed to run next summer, and that's kind of like a summer sport kind of like camp thing where kids will come So a certain park will have different coaches for different sports, and that will run for them. And another success that we had this past spring was we partnered with the city of Hartford, actually, and Mayor Bronin's office to facilitate a program called Jumpstart. And it served around 1,200, so 1,200 kids. They all got to participate in this spring sports jumpstart program for free. And it was comprised of recreational track, football, basketball. I believe baseball was a part of it. And the program went really well. It got shouted out on our local news. Yeah, like I said, 1,200 kids got to participate in spring sports for free. So yeah, I think that was a really good success for us. Amidst like the pandemic and COVID protocols and everything. I think that was really good. We are really happy about that.
Sounds really fun. It sounds like those deep dives into the research, those long nights are worth it because you have those good successes, but also being able to balance work, I feel like it's been a big challenge because you never, like you said, there's no clock in, clock out, or I have to, worry about traffic or driving. And so it's easy to justify staying on your computer for, 1 more hour or a little bit more, but it's, recognizing it and saying, okay, this is my to-do list and this is what I have to get done. It's also important.
Right.
I can definitely relate with that whole like borderless or like boundless kind of day, and just making sure that you're setting, your own kind of like restrictions on things, because your team doesn't want you to they don't want you to go overboard, but they definitely want you to turn over what they need. And so yeah, I'm familiar with that at my placement too.
And also to you, Twylah, I guess a question to follow up on that is what has been a success out of this working from home period for you?
Sure. The first success is just being able to, like before now, I was going into an office, a designated space, but we were furloughed. So it was great to come across this opportunity and to like jump on to the, VISTA role. And it was seamless, actually. I got really familiar with the team right away. So I feel like that was a success. So even though I'm transitioning into being remote, not being familiar with it at all, it went well. And I connected with people right away through email, through Slack, or whatever other means. You just learn and you kind of roll with it. And you get on a new team and you're doing your onboarding, your training, but it went well. And so I'm glad that that part of it was seamless. In terms of just like, where I feel like that distance, you'd love to be able to see people every single day. But then again, Zoom accounts for that. And so I valued just learning Zoom and being able to use those tools that kind of just like popped up out of nowhere, but they've been useful because of the remote aspect. So yeah, you just learn to balance, learn to roll with it, and look for the good in everything. I was able to even see like at the end of the school year, all the report cards roll out, and I was a part of that. So, task specific kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd never been a part of that. So it was really good to help support those things.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to think about and hear about how every single organization too is going through their own different opening up or like specific instances of being in person. For me at Woodcraft Rangers, our office is going under renovation. So it's been physically impossible to be in person because our office space is being under construction right now. And I'm in my last 2 weeks as my VISTA year, just to provide some context to that as well. And the office is going to reopen right as soon as my VISTA year ends, and so it's a little bit of a double-edged sword that I was able to work from home for the whole year, but right when it ends is when people will be able to come back together, or at least a little bit more. And and Mickey, it's interesting to hear too how you started in person and then shifted to back to being in virtual or a hybrid kind of situation. So I guess going off of that, what has I've heard from both of you that through working from home you're actually a little bit more productive than being in an office. And so for me, sometimes being at home is a little bit more challenging because I can go down that rabbit hole of research, or I can open another tab and look at something that I do. It does associate with the work that I do, and it is going to contribute to something in the long run, but maybe isn't on that specific to-do list task for today. So I guess my question on that regard is like, what motivates you to get through your day at home?
Yeah, I think for me, it's always been kind of like, even when I was in school, it's always kind of been like, just getting the task done so I don't get in trouble. I have like this big fear of being like reprimanded or being seen as lazy. So that kind of like motivates me because I don't want anybody to think of me as that. So I always try to, I do kind of confide in kind of feel for you on that, kind of like doing something that's not urgent but is kind of connected to the long run, and it's like the mission of the host site. But yeah, like I just don't like to get reprimanded or or seen as not doing what needs to get done. So that motivates me the most to get all the tasks done. I started creating like lists, or like little checklists, just so I'm able to get some stuff done. And like sometimes, like most of the time, I'll finish things really early. So whenever I finish something early, what I started doing more so now is sending it to my supervisor and then my other supervisor, so they could check my work, or make necessary changes, or so they could just see that I'm doing what needs to get done. Kind of doing those check-ins with them has helped because it's made the work better. We're able to do more. They're also my supervisors are also, they have their hands in like many projects. So they're also always really busy. So that checklist really helps me kind of get through what I need to get through first, and then kind of get to double back on things that we've kind of talked about already, or new things that need to get done. So the checklist has actually really helped me. And yeah, so yeah, that I think that's my biggest motivation, not getting in trouble and making sure I get what needs to get done.
We've both touched on like, the same strategies I use, at least to stay focused. And it's the checklist and making sure you're checking in with your team. It provides that structure, to make sure you're on task. And I guess always making sure that I remember that a person is behind the information I'm looking for. So like, like I made Dilly Dally going on Power School, like that's the database they use. But then when I remember, oh, this is needed for, the advisory team to reach out to the student, or this is needed for the parent to be able to assess where their child is, performing, then that gets me to do it a little bit faster, kind of a thing, because there's a person behind these numbers or these figures. And so, yeah, I need to get this done for that.
Yeah, I totally hear you and relate to both of you. And Twylah, like, I think the mantra that I use in my head is, or somebody said to me once, like, it's an honor to be doing this, like this work. We were impacting so many kids and being able to provide programming in this experience and in this role. Like VISTA is also really unique in what we're able to do in a year of service, and the trust that for me my organization gives me and the different tasks that I have is so much for somebody who's going to be here for a year of service. And so making sure that is done as gracefully and as efficiently, and however best, whatever whatever my best is, I want to put that into the work that I do. Right now I'm in the part of a VISTA year, which is called legacy planning. And so writing up all the things that I have done this past year, and hopefully with the intention of passing it over to whoever takes up the project next year, or in 3 weeks. And so that has been also some great opportunity to reflect on the work that I've done. And so I'm excited for you both to and go through your rest of your year as well. I want to transition a little bit to thinking more broadly about the VISTA program, and think about advantages and disadvantages to the VISTA program specifically being done remotely, and if you have any advice, or not advice yet, but any thoughts on VISTA being done remotely in the future. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the advantages and disadvantages kind of, more so for me, I think it depends on the program that you're working with and your host site. It hasn't been a disadvantage for me working from home, because like I said, I'm still able to do everything I need to get done. Have my meetings, write up my grants, and yeah, like sometimes I do go in, but that's mostly because it requires a physical body to be there for check-ins and registration for the recreational sports programs, and sometimes even participating in them, or just being there for an extra body in case anything goes wrong with the program. But kind of like on the back end of the more, I don't want to say more important, but like the more structural work that I have to get done for Active City, working from home hasn't been too much of a disadvantage. I think the only thing that would probably impact my work is if like there's a crazy storm and like the internet gets knocked out, or if Zoom is acting really wacky that day when we have an important meeting. I think that's technology is an advantage, and then it could also be a disadvantage depending on the day. So I also think that working from home could be an advantage too. More specifically in my role, it just depends on the person and how motivated they are to get the work done. I feel comfortable in my house. I'm very blessed to feel comfortable and me be able to have, internet and a working laptop, and, kind of the things that we kind of take for granted sometimes. So I'm able to, really get what I need to get done in a timely manner and efficiently. So yeah, I think the advantages and disadvantages kind of vary from program to program.
I think the whole COVID experience, everything was just so heavy, so much sadness, but if anything positive came out of it, I think it's just the idea that some roles can actually shift to being remote, and it can happen, and it can be successful, and it can still successfully run. Yeah, a lot of the sports-based activities or assignments will require you to be hands-on with your students and present with your students, but I think it should definitely be considered, the actual assignment itself. And if it can be done remote, let it be done remote. Because, Emily, you mentioned that whole trust thing, like a lot of us, I think we're showing even our supervisors that, given the responsibility, a lot of us can do it. And, we can be trusted to do it diligently, even though we're not like being watched every single day. And so it should be considered, hey, which one of these roles can be remote? Let it be remote. And, those others that could be hybrid, let them be hybrid. And then, we still love and value sporting activities and being in person. So those definitely should be in person, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, it seems like the entire workplace is changing too. So this isn't only specific to VISTA, but
right.
It will impact, the future of as we're entering early, we're all early professionals entering careers.
Right.
It's interesting to think about what that will be for us and what that will hold. And so
Mhm.
I know that future Vistas or future people considering applying to Vista might be listening to this. So to wrap up our conversation today, I wanted to ask, what recommendations or advice would you give to either any future Vistas who might be working from home, or even to yourself? What advice would you give yourself if you were looking back and, looking back at yourself starting your Vista year?
I was nervous right off the bat. Like I said, I had never done like anything like this before, but I would definitely tell myself it's fun, like just go for it. The role is amazing. You're learning while you go. And so I know the next Vista is definitely going to love this school. The team is amazing. They're a great group of people that you can connect with, and you'll know them forever. I feel like even after I'm done, I'm definitely going to keep in touch. So it's a positive experience, and go for it is what I tell myself and the new Vista.
I think I guess my future advice to future visitors who are probably working from home or working remotely, I think definitely getting into a schedule will definitely help you a lot more than just waking up and just getting online or hopping on your database or whenever you can, or whenever you feel like it, building that discipline and being diligent with your work. It makes it a lot more easier, because like I said earlier, what I find after getting in my routine of working home, and I've gotten a lot more done. I hit my marks, um, and it works for me. So trying new things and figuring out what works for you the most, because everybody's different, right? So whatever you can do to get the job done, right? And I'm sorry, there was another question, right?
It was sort of the same question, like if you were looking back at yourself when you started from where you're at now.
Oh yeah. If I was, so I guess advice to myself, yeah. So when I was kind of the same as Twylah, I was kind of like, I don't know, should I do it, or should I kind of like go for something more like more corporate, or more like
Or
on
even
the business
permanent
side.
is what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that I think I've gained some really nice skills, so I would tell myself, go for it. Um, it's a good learning experience. You'll
Mhm.
meet a lot of people. You'll understand how nonprofits work and actually what a nonprofit is. Um, I've learned a lot, dealing with grants and how grants are written, especially more so for nonprofits, and kind of, the fundraising side of things, and kind of how money works with that, from state to federal. So I would definitely tell myself to go for it, and go for that learning experience. It's a good, you'll gain some really good skills, and then after it, some corporate or wherever you want to go, a big nonprofit will probably pick you up because of all the skills that you gain with AmeriCorps and VISTA and your host site. So yeah.
Thanks. So one of my, and just to wrap it up, yeah, one of my favorite things about Vista is I get to talk to people who are in Connecticut and New York, and I never would have had this opportunity had it not been for AmeriCorps VISTA. So I am thankful for both of you and the opportunity to be here and talk about our experiences as Vistas, but also just connect with other people who are passionate about the nonprofit field, passionate about young people in sports and recreation. So thank you for being here and the opportunity to talk.
Yeah, it's been
Thank
great.
you. Yeah.
Thank you.